Scene 1. Sound of far-off gunfire, birds, jungle noises. Sound of helicopter approaching.
Thanks for the warning, but I'm sure I'll be fine.
Sound of copter moving away after someone has jumped out. Dusty enters in jeans and t-shirt, enters with his duffel bag.
Hey, where is everybody? I mean, I thought there'd be people here, you know, lots of people, but maybe there's been a mistake. Hey, this the right place? Heck, travel to exotic lands, the brochure said. Avoid the draft, it said. Right there in black and white, it said, learn a new skill, earn top dollar, defeat the enemy, support our boys. That was all in the brochure. Unless I'm remembering it wrong. That's possible. I haven't slept in days. I'm in a Vietnam days. Oh, the air base is just right over there. I saw it from up there. Maybe that's where everybody is.
Silent guy rises from the pile of parts wearing olive drab t-shirt and jeans. He ignores Dusty.
Hey there. Glad to see you. Heck, I'm glad to see anybody. I'm Dusty Adams from Lubbock on the high plains of Texas. You heard of it? Famous for winds and flooding. Great place to be from away from. Guess you didn't hear me. I'm Dusty. I'm your new assistant. Although I don't have a clue about helicopters or much else except driving a tractor and baling cotton. Can't be too different, right? Parts is parts. Our old John Deere couldn't make it through a summer without needing plugs or a belt. Always something. Are you deaf? Can you hear me?
He waves a hand in front of Silent Guy's face. Silent Guy glares at Dusty, then spits to one side.
Ah, so you can hear. Huh? You don't have much to say, do you? Well, you just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. I'll do it right the first time, too. Huh. Guess it's rained a lot lately. Hey, are you a mute? I should have thought of that right off. There's something the matter with your tongue? Like you don't have one? That's okay. I know about that. We had a mute in Crosbyton. See, I'm not really from Lubbock. Crosbyton's a little town outside of Lubbock, a farming town, Compton. Anyways, we had a mute. He worked for the cleaners, pickup and delivery. Name was Orville. He married and moved away.
Silent Guy sticks out his tongue and wiggles it, laughs to himself, and goes back to work.
Ah, guess that's not your problem. I'm going to be here a while. Where do I put my gear? Where do I sleep?
Looks inside the hut.
Huh, guess you got the low bunk. I'll take the top. Where do we take a dump?
He looks off stage.
Dang, it's just like Granny's. Well, at least hers had a door.
Dusty looks up.
Oh, I've never seen a bird like that. It's so big it'd pick us up and carry us off. Of course, there's not many big birds in West Texas except buzzards. You know, this is a wondrous country, all right. Huh. Never seen so much shrubbery. Must be a jillion shades of green right here, and a cajillion kinds of insects, too. Each one making a different sound. It's downright noisy. Can they do this all night? Guess I'll learn to sleep through it. And those hills, no, they must be mountains. Huh, we don't have those in West Texas either. Maybe I'll hike up to the top and look around, look down on this whole world.
Silent Guy ignores Dusty.
The man from Bell said this was a good gig. Bell Helicopter is located in Texas. I guess you know that since you work for them. It probably says Bell Helicopter, Fort Worth, Texas on your check. Do we get a check? Is there a bank around here? I don't see nothing around here. You know, the copter pilot just picked me up in Saigon and dropped me off here. About talked my ear off, but I couldn't hear most of what he said. Anyway, I was so busy looking down at all this.
He begins scratching.
Oh, you got yourself some impressive skaters. Oof. We've got them like this too, especially down in Houston. Of course, Houston's a swamp. Huh, guess this is a swamp too. But Houston's a city, you know, cars, buildings, air conditioning.
Sound of rain, hard at first, then softer. Silent Guy enters the hut. Dusty sits on a stool. From his duffel, he pulls out clean socks, a bag of candy, and boots. Changes socks and puts on boots. Eats the candy. Silent Guy comes out of the hut. Dusty offers him the candy sack. Silent Guy ignores him. Checks the rain, goes back inside.
Does it rain every afternoon here? You know, I heard it rains every afternoon in the tropics. Is this the tropics? Well, I guess those are palm trees. Somehow, I imagine the tropics different. Like the tropics come with beaches and girls in two-piece bathing suits.
Silent Guy comes out with a tarp for cover, lopes over to the parts, and begins figuring or taking inventory on a paper.
Maybe I've seen too many movies. Did you ever see South Pacific? That was the tropics. Of course, that was the Philippines, I think. It's been a while since I've seen it.
They sit in silence for a while.
Oh, in Hawaii, that's the tropics too. They've got palm trees, beaches, and girls in grass skirts with bras made of coconuts.
A coconut drops and rolls.
Guess when I've been here a while, I won't have much to say either. Just yes or no, right or wrong. And can you add bacon to that? Bacon's my favorite food. Do they have bacon in Vietnam? I mean, I think I saw pigs on my way here, but they might have been boars. They was running fast. I know things here, won't be the same as home, but I'm up for a change. In fact, I'm here to change my life. I bet you've changed a lot since you've been here, right? I bet you used to be a big talker, maybe big man on campus if you went on to school. I did not. Texas Tech thought I was not college material. They evidently thought I was fodder for the army, but I said, no siree, I will not be drafted and die in the mud for a country I didn't know existed until it started calling my name. So, repairing helicopters is the alternative to getting shot at by gooks, right? Ain't that right?
Silent Guy ignores Dusty. Rain slowly tapers off.
Oh, you're about to wear me out, you know it? That's the silent treatment like Mama gives Daddy when she's mad. Well, we ain't married, and you're going to have to talk to me sooner or later, so you might as well start right now. Give me something to do. I'm here to help.
Silent Guy goes into the hut, comes out with a manual, pitches it to Dusty, goes about his business.
Huh. Now that's more like it.
Dusty sits, opens the manual, and reads aloud as he acts out the directions for operating a helicopter. His body becomes contorted.
A pilot uses both hands and both feet and most of his fingers. Strapped into his seat, the pilot has a control lever between his legs called a cyclic stick, which tilts the whole rotor disc and moves the helicopter in the required direction, forward, backward, or sideways. In his left hand, he has a collective pitch lever, which is pulled up and down to pivot the rotor blades, which increases or decreases their lift and is used to move the helicopter up and down. Well, both feet are used to operate two pedals on the floor, which control the tail rotor and are required to move the nose of the helicopter left and right. The rotor blades are connected to a transmission, which is driven, so a throttle is necessary to speed up the engine and thus the rotor blades. To do this, a twist grip is fixed to the end of the collective lever to increase or decrease the power as required. Various buttons are mounted on the hand grip at the top of the cyclic pitch lever to operate microphone switches, trim buttons, hoist controls, and, on gunships, triggers for the guns and rockets. Guns and rockets, all the flight controls are connected. Nothing to it. I could do this. Maybe I'll build me a copter out of these parts and fly home to see Janice. Won't she be surprised? Hey, buddy, show me how all these parts fit together.
Silent Guy tosses Dusty a blueprint. Dusty turns the blueprint upside down and around. He can't figure out how to read it.
This a map? North is always at the top. Which way is north here? You still not talking? Well, buddy, I don't even know your name. But this isn't helping at all. Until more guys come, it's just you and me. We need to get along, so I'm just going to chalk all this up to you having a bad day. Maybe you got some news from home that didn't sit well with you. Maybe a Dear John letter, or your mama's sick, or maybe you just don't feel so good. Let's leave it there for now. Tomorrow's another day. Maybe you'll be more talkative after a good night's sleep.
Dusty goes to work moving parts from one place to another. Tries to figure out the blueprint, pokes around in general.
Oh, I hope you can talk tomorrow, because I got a lot of questions, like, how do we get mail? What are we supposed to eat? Do we get R&R in exotic places like the Army grunts? I hear they can pick between Hawaii, the Philippines, or Japan. That right? You had R&R yet? Did you pick Japan or Hawaii? Geishas or wahinis? Man, oh man, I can't wait.
Silent Guy quits work for the day, lights a joint.
Oh, sure, wait. What are you smoking? Maybe grapevine or whatever vine is hanging over your head? Maybe some of that wacky weed? But it truly smells like cow dung. Don't see how you can inhale that stuff.
Silent Guy turns on the radio and relaxes under a tree to listen. Sound of Buffalo Bob speaking from a radio that's hanging in a tree.
Hey there, baby. This is Buffalo Bob coming to you via the Armed Forces Radio. How goes your magical mystery tour this evening? Is it peaceful where you are? Yeah? You're lucky, because the denizens of Northern Ireland are rioting tonight. Americans would be too if they knew how badly the Tet Offensive kicked our butts. Mark my words, heads will roll. By the way, if you're lucky enough to pass through Da Nang this week, Inkadink is having a tattoo sale. You can get a heart with Mom inscribed, or a skull with Meanest SOB in Hell. Red and black ink, blue cost you extra. If you're sick of the pizza served in mess, you'll be glad to hear that the government has signed a new contractor. You'll be eating Pizza Hut from now on, or at least until they start cutting back on the cheese like the last piker that tried to make money off this war. Now, settle down, because I'm going to play you some jazzy Charlie Bird Parker.
Silent Guy turns off the radio. Dusty quits work, gets paper and pencil and begins a letter.
A dear Janice, coming here may have been a mistake. Time will tell. I miss you so much. Do you miss me? Now, I'm sorry we had that argument before I left. Now, I guess it was nerves or something. I'm sorry for everything I said. I know you'll be true blue even though you see other guys. You won't be with them like you and me have been together, right? Take care, and send me your senior pictures when they come in. Yours always, Dusty.
Dusty folds the letter and takes out more paper.
Dear Mama, Vietnam is okay. In fact, it's beautiful. Just imagine the opposite of Lubbock and you get the picture. I made the right decision, Mama. They're shooting, but they ain't aiming at me. I'm supporting our boys by putting their birds back in the sky so they can kill gooks and rescue our wounded. You'll be glad to know I've got a good buddy here working with me. He's a fine person and very helpful, showing me the ropes. So don't worry about me. Love, your boy, Dusty. P.S. Please send cookies and a dozen pair of socks.
Blackout. Scene 2. Lights up. The parts pile is a little smaller. The vegetation is denser. Sound of a Jeep coming close. A duffel bag is thrown on stage. The sound of a Jeep departing. Dusty emerges from the hut wearing olive drab. His face double shows that time has elapsed. Dusty rips into the duffel and finds a package addressed to him. Opens it to find comic books, a tin of cookies, and a letter. He opens the cookies, starts to offer them to Silent Guy, thinks better of it, reads the letter.
They've got no rain in 5 months. We could send them some of ours, Sister had her baby. It's a girl. Becky. I'm Becky's uncle. Janice will write soon. I mean, it makes me homesick to get a letter, but, I crave hearing from them. Well, guess that's what mixed feelings is.
Janice enters, crosses to Dusty. Neither guy can see her. She's wearing typical schoolgirl clothing, ponytail, etc.
Dear Dusty, I hope this finds you
Heard
well.
Well, almost. I guess some days he's too busy ducking his head, staying alive. The Army's paying for his R&R, and Barb's dad said he'd pay for her to meet up with Mike as long as they promise to take precautions. He's real advanced for a dad. I'm taking Spanish. The teacher's real cute, just graduated from tech. And I wrote a poem for Miss Williams' class. Here it is. Lying in bed, writing poems in my head. Can't put down on paper or I'll fall out of favor. She pinned it on the bulletin board. Do you like it? You're probably not much on poetry. We never discussed that, did we? There's so much we didn't get to discuss. Right soon, Dusty. I'm so bored.
Janice drifts off stage. Silent Guy sorts through the duffel, finds his letter, and stuffs it into his back pocket.
You're not even going to open that? I mean, it's news from the real world, from real people. Maybe you're an uncle too. God knows it breaks up the monotony to get news, even if it's not good news. I'd kill for a newspaper. Nope, maybe I wouldn't actually kill anybody. That's what I didn't like about the idea of being in the Army. The sole purpose of the soldier is to kill people. Back home, every night, the TV anchor gives a body count. How many gooks we killed yesterday. My friend Mike, he's a grunt in Uncle Sam's finest. Says you can't tell a good one from a bad one. They're all wearing black pajamas, so you just shoot them all. He has 1A with the lowest lottery number in Crosby County. Else he'd be here fixing copters with us. At least he'd talk. That'd be an improvement.
Silent Guy flips a wrench and a few bolts to Dusty and points the parts for him to fit together.
I get it. A man's got to earn his keep around here or he'll get a bad report, right? Sent home to face the draft board. My grandpa's on the Crosby County draft board. Some folks accuse him of changing my number, but that's a lie. I'm 187 out of 365, right in the middle. So it could have gone either way. No, if he could have changed any numbers, I'd have made him change Mike's. But it couldn't be done. So now Mike's running through rice paddies, humping a 26-pound radio. He's my best friend. Maybe we can get R&R together.
Dusty picks up around the area, comes across a short length of rope.
Did you ever rodeo? Probably not. You've missed something grand. Whether you're riding bulls or broncs, it's 8 seconds of excitement and terror. Then it's all over except for the dirt in your teeth. At the end of 8 seconds, you might get a huge belt buckle and a little money. Or you might get a broken back and lie in bed for the rest of your life. Or, if you're lucky, you could sit up in a wheelchair. Same odds as any draftee's got over here. Me and my girlfriend, Janice, and my best friend, Mike, we like a little danger in our lives. There's different kinds of danger, different kinds of risk. Me, I rode broncs because I'm tall and straight-legged. Bull riders gotta have bowed legs in order to wrap them around the bull. At least that's a theory. But there's no holding on to something that's raging out of control.
Silent Guy exits. He doesn't notice the letter falling from his pocket. Dusty picks up the letter and reads it and reads the return address.
Nursing home.
Silent Guy enters with eggs, lights a can of sterno and fries the eggs in a skillet.
Page. Oh, here, you dropped this. You paying for Granny's bed at the home? My Granny's in one. Place smells like pee and bleach. Lucky she don't know any better. Sleeps most of the time.
Silent Guy grabs the letter and stuffs it in his pocket.
I visit her every Saturday morning, hold her hand. In the fall, I'd give her a play-by-play of last night's football game. She'd look far off, but she'd smile and squeeze my hand when I'd tell her we scored. She knew. I was sorry I had to tell her about our game against Rawls, practically our next-door neighbor mileage-wise. It was my junior year, final game of the regular season, fourth quarter. We was tied 28-28. Roy Dan ran the ball for us, but he was hit by their oversized defender. You know, people said that kid was 19, 20, not a high school senior, but a real man. They smashed up hard. We didn't know till a lot later, but Roy Dan had concussed, as they say, and nobody caught it. He didn't come out of it, so today he's 2 doors down from my granny. Never knew what hit him. He's like a baby, pees his pants and mules. I couldn't visit him after that first time. Even Granny knows what hit her. Where'd you get them eggs?
Silent Guy wipes out his pan, turns on the radio.
Hey, baby, it's Buffalo Bob here. You just heard Gladys Knight and the Pips with their hit, I Heard It Through the Grapevine. I'll tell you something I heard through the grapevine. I hope it's not true, because if it is, you can expect some mighty blowback when the story sees light. It concerns an out-of-control Zippo squad in a little village called Meli. Let's pray it's a lie. Now I'm going to play you a song called
Sound of nearby gunfire, rockets. Dusty hits the ground. Silent Guy ignores the gunfire, turns off the radio. Sound quiets. Dusty looks around, notices that Silent Gun has gone about his business.
Didn't you hear that? Darn near took us out. We could have been killed, or at least wounded, and you just go on about your business like nothing happened? Well, I'm here to tell you we almost died. Could have took some shrapnel. You think it was us or them? How would we know? Dang, that was close.
Lights out. Scene 3. Lights up. Dusty enters. More stubble suggests more time has elapsed.
Hey, I just got kicked off the airbase. They called me a mercenary. Said we weren't welcome. Personas not gratis. You must have done something awful over there. What'd you do? Steal a skillet from the PX? Fart in the mess hall? Kill somebody? How are we supposed to survive, just the two of us?
Sound of Jeep driving up. Thud of a duffel landing. Dusty dives into the duffel and frantically empties it, finally finding a package from home. Silent Guy's letter wafts through the air. Dusty holds his letter to his chest.
Please, Mama, give me some good news. Anything, like the price of cotton going up or the price of gas going down. I need something.
Opens letter, reading silently until...
Janice is pregnant. Well, damn. Well, that's why she hasn't written in a while. She's cut me out. Why? Is she embarrassed we got caught? Well, we do like to live dangerously. She's my girl, all right. But why did she tell me? Why'd she tell my mama? Or did she? Rumor has it.
To Silent Guy.
How about you, William Edwards? Surprised? I got your name off the bill. You got any news? Girlfriend left you? Girlfriend pregnant? Girlfriend meeting you for R&R? Or maybe you got news from Grandma on the home. She still breathing? Still drooling out of one side of her mouth?
Silent Guy stuffs the letter into his back pocket and walks away.
If no news is good news, then any news is bad news, sure enough. Listen to this. Dickie Harris's tractor flipped over on him while he was plowing his aunt's cotton field. Trapped him underneath. They didn't find him until near sunset. DOA at the ER. He was an orphan, you know. His Aunt Ruthie took him in when her sister ran off with a revival preacher. She's pregnant. Is it mine? I mean, it's been so long, I can't remember when we were together, when we did it, when we used a rubber. I mean, it's 50-50 that we forgot or didn't have time. She said she'd see Doc Evans about the pill, but we both knew he'd give her a prescription and then tell her mother. Damn him. Damn them all.
Silent guy enters with eggs, light sterno, etc.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's eggs, there's chickens.
Dusty exits. Silent guy eats, then rolls up his sleeve and makes a cut on his arm with the Bowie knife. There are many marks already there. He stretches, lights a joint. Sound of a chicken squawking. Dusty enters plucking feathers from a chicken.
Whoo, yippee, finally, dinner not from a sea ration. Mike calls them sea rats. That funny? Oh, there'll be some good eating tonight. How about you, Wild Willie? White meat or dark? You a thigh man or a leg man? Bet you like breasts.
Silent guy sends dagger looks at Dusty and the dead chicken.
What's the matter, Willie? I know you're a meat eater. What's the problem? There's got to be other chickens. No big deal. Besides, if you'd shared the eggs even once, I'd have had more appreciation for the source. We could have been friends. Talked about things, news, life, war. But no way, you've got to be a prick and make every minute of my tour here miserable. I mean, you may not need friends, but some of us do. We need to be social to talk about this damn war or our pregnant girlfriends, but not you, William Edwards, not you. You are an island, an iceberg, whatever. You don't need nothing or nobody. That's why the only mail you get is a damn bill from the nursing home. You don't need family, and they sure don't need you. A loner's the worst thing in the world to be. Someday you'll need somebody or something, and you'll have no one to ask. So you'll never get what it is you need.
Lights down. Lights up.
Dear Janice, you wouldn't believe the jerk I'm stuck here with. He's such a creep. Hasn't said a word. Really, not yes, no, or maybe since I've been here. It's amazing how I can hate a man I've never traded words with. On the other hand, if he writes me up for anything bad, I'll get sent home, drafted, and come back here as a grunt. I miss Mike. He writes some. Can't believe he and I are in the same country and we have to write letters. It's not that big a country. He's got R&R coming soon. He chose the Philippines, or the Army chose it for him. Anyway, how are you? I heard you were pregnant. Could you please write and give me the details on that? Like, how pregnant are you? When is it coming? Is it mine?
Looks up to think. Crosses that line out.
Is it a boy or girl? Dustin is a nice name for a boy, if that's the case. Or Janice for a girl. Get it? Janice and Janice, like mother-daughter. Let me know what you think. You might want to visit sister and her new baby. It'd give you some experience. Give Mama a hug for me. Tell her I miss her. And you, of course. Everybody.
Sound of Jeep driving by. Duffel bag lands.
Jeez, you'd think he'd stop and shoot the breeze once in a while.
Dusty ransacks through the duffel. Finds a letter for him. One for Silent Guy. Opens it.
Wow. You pay $900 to the nursing home? I'm pretty sure my granny's home's only $3 something. Must be the high-end version. A bath and clean clothes every day. Paint your toenails, too. But hey, Willie's granny's name is Freddie Singleton. Short for Frederica? Sounds like some character in a book we had to read for English. Wish I'd paid more attention in Mrs. Williams' class. The hard part about writing letters is the spelling.
Silent Guy enters.
Hey there, Willie. Here's your granny's bill for the month. Her name's Freddie? What's that short for? Oh, wait. Your granny needs a prostate exam? I guess that's your grandpa then. That explains why it costs so much. He ain't getting his toenails painted. He's getting a dick fix.
Silent Guy glares at Dusty for a time before he grabs the bill and exits into the hut. Dusty opens his letter and reads to himself.
Oh, from Mike. R&R was great. Fucked brains out. Look a lot like Goose. Well, Mikey, at least you had a change of scenery and some nookie. I can't stand this anymore. Oh, I'm so bored I could read a book. But that ain't gonna happen.
Faint sound of Asian music. To Silent Guy.
You hear that? Sounds like music. Civilization, even if it's not in English. Might be a party. You want to go see? There's a village over the hill if I'm looking in the right direction. I saw it from the copter. Maybe they'll be friendlier than our air base. You want to go? Could be interesting. Could be something you might want to talk about later. You never can tell. Guess that's a no. Well, I'm going to check it out. I'll come back and tell you all about it. Or maybe I won't.
Lights out. Scene 4. Lights up to dusk. Dusty enters. His clothes are messed up. He's staggering, clearly drunk.
Willie! Willie! Oh, you missed it, buddy. Those cats have liquor. They roasted a pig. I almost had bacon. Willie, those village girls, they're beauties. I mean, their mamas are not, but they keep an eye on the beauties, you know? Well, the guys, the younger ones, I think a few of them might be Charlie's. Calm. I bet you can tell the difference, Willie, between our slopes and theirs. Willie, you missed it, Willie. I'll tell you all about it in the morning. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the effects of the local moonshine. I mean, there's no moonshining tonight except in my hand. Whew, that brew is impressive. I'll just rest here for a minute.
Dusty nods off in front of the hut. Lights up, morning. Silent Guy enters from hut, kicks Dusty's leg out of his path, begins work. Sound of Jeep, duffel dropping, Jeep leaving. Silent Guy rummages through the duffel, pulls out a package, makes sure Dusty is still out, and opens it. He eats the brownies, takes off his dingy socks, and puts on the new ones. Opens and reads a letter written in purple ink. Janice enters. Her belly is beginning to show. She's in a t-shirt, jeans, and a fringed vest.
Dear Dusty, you may or may not get this letter. I'm not even sure I'll mail it, but I have to write it. I am pregnant. Pretty much everyone in town knows, even though I didn't tell anyone except Barb. Lord only knows who she told. Anyway, the news is all over the county. The preacher made an appointment with Mama. The guidance counselor made an appointment with me. He said I should quit school and prepare myself for motherhood. He said I had ruined any chance I had for college or business school. He cautioned me, I think threatened me, about talking to the other girls about sex, as if any junior or senior girl was still a virgin. I'm checking to see if he can get me kicked out of school. He better not, though. I'm an A student, after all. Mrs. Williams put another one of my poems on the board. Here it is. It's a haiku. Japanese, not Vietnamese. That's a joke. Anyway, here it goes. War is over there. Peace is our reality. The sea is between. Do you like it? I don't think you remarked on the one I sent before. Maybe poetry isn't your thing. Or maybe the sounds of guns and bombs are your poetry. They said on the news that the sight of napalm at night is beautiful. Or maybe that was flares that are beautiful. Anyway, I have to go throw up again. Morning sickness is not fun. On second thought, maybe that's what gave me away. Peace out, Janice.
Janice exits. Silent Guy tears the letter to shreds, leaving the pieces in a neat pile in an obvious place. Dusty moans, holds his head.
Oh, man, oh, man. Oh, what a night I had. Oh, did I tell you about it? I mean, I can't remember if I did or not. Hell, I can't remember much of anything. Oh, I sure don't remember falling down or whatever I did to break my leg.
Dusty pulls up his pant leg to check, finds a huge bruise from the kick.
That's the same leg I broke in the game against Jayton my freshman year. Yeah, that happened. I was about to catch the winning pass when this thunderball of a senior hit me low and hard. I missed the rest of the season. You got any coffee? My tongue feels furry. I think I could eat something too. You know, that little piggy from last night. I think that's what I was eating. Although there are a lot of boar hogs in these parts. Anyway, I'm hungry.
Dusty stands, gets dizzy, and limps behind the hut to vomit. Dusty enters.
Oh, did the mail come? I thought I heard the Jeep because I could have dreamed it. Well, you know, I was all over the place on those dreams. Hallucinatory drugs got nothing on the local brew. Did the drop come? Did I get a letter? I mean, it's Janice's turn to write. Maybe she'll tell me it's Dusty Jr. or Denise. Wouldn't that be cool? Both our names. Guess it's not going to happen today, right? I'll start on that rotor in a while. I need a nap the worst way. I never gave much thought to being a dad. I mean, there's not much to it. You know, provide food for the family, show up for football and basketball games, teach your kid to do what the Bible says without having to actually go to church yourself. But now, the thought of a baby, not a baby, but a little kid to pay attention to help him along. But I hope it's a him, but yeah, I don't care. Let's have a little kid with your last name, your responsibility to show him how the world works. That would be amazing. It's a real responsibility, a kid. Like what I tell him if it's a boy, to go to Vietnam or Canada.
Silent Guy turns on the radio, sits to whittle with his Bowie knife, cuts his arm a couple of times. Sound from the radio.
That was the Beatles with a little help for you heroes and warriors, courtesy of me, Buffalo Bob. Maybe you thought that when Westmoreland was fired, the war was all but over, right? Not on your life. Really. War is good for the economy, and don't you forget it. They'll tell you how many gooks we killed yesterday, but they won't tell you how much money it cost per gook. On a more personal note, I'm here to remind you 'tis the season, baby. All manner of reptiles and parasites are on the march alongside you. Repellent is available at your nearest PX. Also at the PX is the newest treatment for the infamous infestation of crotch rot. Get that in the butt ASAP. Now, I've been asked by the brass to remind you that no one gives a damn if you cut the ears off a dead Kong. But please, emphasize please, do not send them home. Your folks are getting spooked. The brass are getting calls. If you want souvenirs, take them home in your kit. In other news, Parisians are rioting. It seems that nobody anywhere is happy, except for you, because I'm about to give you the dates and locations for Bob Hope's upcoming USO show. He's bringing Tuesday Weld, Phyllis Diller, and wait, this just in. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has been shot. assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. He was 39 years old. Folks are rioting in the streets of America.
Silent Guy turns off the radio.
Ah, that's better. Ah, I am ready to whip one of these babies into running shape. Oh, Skid's just got a chip out. I can pair two pieces into one good one.
Drops the piece.
Oh, damn. Oh, did you feel that? It was electric. Oh, blood. Oh, carried a wounded soldier, this one did. Hope he made it out.
Finds the remains of Janice's letter.
You tore up your bill? Hope it wasn't bad news about your granddaddy. It is your granddaddy, right?
Realizes what has happened.
That's her purple ink. It's my letter. Now I won't know what she said. Did she say the baby's mine or when it's coming?
To Silent Guy.
That bail recruiter said you were a short-termer. You do anything like this again, your term is going to be shorter than you imagined. Buddy, I have tried to be your friend here in this God-forsaken wilderness, but you won't have it. You ignore me at every turn, and now you've destroyed my personal effects. This is war. A war within a war. You better watch your back.
To himself.
This place is driving me batty, along with that SOB. Why did I ever sign up? Maybe I can find out where Mike is and meet up with him.
Dusty gets pen and paper.
Dear Mama, how are you and everybody? Have you seen Janice? Her last letter was too damaged to read, so I don't know the latest. Things are fine here. Mike writes every once in a while, you know, some news on that front. I visited a village a few weeks ago. The natives were real nice to me. Gave me some roast pig and some liquor.
Marks that out.
Some roast pig. My fellow worker couldn't be nicer. Shares his treats from home as I share yours with him. By the way, could you please ask Daddy to send me his pistol and some ammo? I shouldn't have left home without one, but who knew? Anyway, the man on the radio said the snakes are real bad this season, so I need to protect myself. Love to you and the family, especially sister's new baby. Send pictures.
Scene 5. Sound of Jeep arriving. The duffel bag landing and the Jeep leaving. Silent Guy stands off, watching Dusty tear into the duffel. Dusty opens a letter and shakes out 2 joints. He examines them, sniffing and laughing.
From Mike. Hot damn. This is Vietnam right here. That's what our boys do when they're not fighting a war. Mike says it's a grunt's best friend. Hey, you got any matches?
Silent Guy pulls a Bic, lights the joint, inhales deeply, and holds it in. Hands the joint to Dusty.
Ah, a familiar odor.
He inhales, coughs, tries again.
That's it? That's what all the fuss is about?
Reads the letter.
Janice is indeed in a family way. It may be mine. Better by God be mine. And if it's not, I better now by God find out whose kid it is.
Silent Guy takes the joint, inhales, and walks away.
What the hell? Now you're stealing from me. Give that back.
Silent Guy exhales in Dusty's face and hands over the joint. Dusty inhales deeply and holds it in. He's a quick study. Exhales.
I do feel kind of floated, like when I got off that helicopter that landed me here.
Silent Guy takes the joint, inhales, gives it back. The joint is out now. Dusty motions for a light.
You know what that means? When your cigarette goes out, means someone just forgot you. Or is it mad at you? Or your mother died? Means something stupid. I can't remember.
He giggles, feeling the effects of the weed. Silent Guy silently laughs as in agreement. He takes the joint back and smokes it the rest of the conversation.
Oh, that's better. See, you can laugh. We're laughing together, just like buddies. Like back home when there's a real funny commercial on TV and we all laugh at the same time. Oh, they always crack me up. Unless they make me cry. I mean, I wouldn't admit that to just anybody, but we're buddies now, so I can tell you stuff, right? Ain't that right?
Silent Guy gives a big fake grin, nods. Dusty cuffs Silent Guy on the shoulder.
Now we're buddies. You can tell me something, okay?
Silent Guy nods, waves the joint around as if to say he's too far gone to talk.
That's okay. I know the feeling. My tongue feels like it's in somebody else's mouth, and my stomach is whirling like rotors on a, whatchamacallit thingy. Those things over there. Did you see that one part? That skid shocked me. Had blood on it. I think it's witchy, ghosted. I mean, I can't point to it because I can't really focus, but, about took off my arm, I wonder how many dead bodies that copter ferried back to base in a plastic bag.
Silent Guy pulls out hemostats from his pocket to hold and finish the roach.
Mike says sometimes they're only covered by a poncho. Maybe it was the pilot that shocked me. This whole place must be full of ghosts, haints, souls. Because according to the TV announcer, we've sent millions of Kongs to heaven. I mean, not our heaven, of course, to theirs. They're Hindu or pagans. Buddhists, maybe? Hey, you got anything to eat? Oh, I could eat a horse.
Silent Guy goes into the hut and comes out with 2 candy bars. He hands one to Dusty and opens the other one for himself.
Thanks, buddy. Mighty white of you.
Lights down. Scene 6. Lights up. Morning. Silent Guy comes out of the hut with a machete.
Morning, buddy. How you hanging?
Silent Guy gives him a warning look, brandishing the machete a bit. He exits.
I ain't afraid of a knife. At least I won't be soon as Mama sends the gun. Guess things are back to normal. Except now I know where there's a stash of candy.
Disappears into the hut. Emerges eating a candy bar and holding a manila folder. Begins reading newspaper clippings.
Says here that Private First Class Frederick Singleton got himself blown up in a rice paddy in the dead of night. Man, oh man. And Willie, that's a confession you could have shared last night when we were talking together, telling secrets. Tell with your little machete. This here's my secret weapon, my M16. I'll bet you'll talk now.
Dusty exits into the hut. Silent Guy enters with half a coconut. He digs out bits with his Bowie knife and eats. Dusty swaggers out of the hut.
So, I know all about you now. You're not Mr. Big Man on campus. You're Mr. Medical Discharge. Seems you got some mental problems, right? In other words, Willie, you're nuts. Right, Willie? You're crazy as a bedbug. Oh, you're trying to drive me nuts, too. Pretty soon we'll just be 2 crazy guys in the middle of the jungle, picking our noses, not caring where there's a war going on over that hill.
Furious, Silent Guy smacks Dusty in the head with the coconut.
Oh, it's crazy.
Lights down. Scene 7. Lights up to twilight. Silent Guy enters with machete and a dead, bloody snake. Goes into the hut. Janice enters with a 6-month belly. She's in bell bottoms, barefoot, her hair's down. She's on her way to full-blown hippiedom.
Dear Dusty, how are you? I'm fine. The morning sickness passed, just like everyone said it would, except I didn't really believe them. It feels like a baby now, 6 months along. It's moving even when I'm not. It feels pretty strange. I'm still in school, much to the dismay of the counselor and the school board. It's hard to be a rebel in your own town. Now I understand why those guys went to Canada. Mrs. Williams is like my guardian angel. As long as I'm doing my assignments, making straight A's, she won't let them punish me. Yesterday, we did limericks. There once was a boy named Dusty. Then I rhymed it with trusty and lusty. She did not put that one on the bulletin board. I hope you have access to our music over there. Bob Dylan has some strange but timely lyrics that are really speaking to us over here. Answers are blowing in the wind. We're trying to catch them, but really, news about the war is like leaves, blowing this way and that, and who's winning, who's losing. We've forgotten how to figure it out. Oh, and another thing you won't believe, waterbeds. I've heard they help pregnant women because they accommodate our big bellies, but Daddy doesn't really approve. Thinks waterbeds are for hippies to have sex. It's all so psychedelic, man. Janice.
Dusty enters, thumbing the letter. Sounds of distant celebration in the village.
Is it mine? Is it a boy or girl? Man, fuck poetry. Fuck Dylan. What about me? Stuck here in the jungle with a fucking monkey that sees no evil, hears no evil, and for damn sure speaks no nothing. Near as I can tell, Willie's got 3 months left. I don't know if I can last that long. I'll take my R&R when and where I can get it.
Dusty exits. Lights down. Scene 8. Lights up to moonlight. Dusty enters, drunk. He sits to write to Mike, doesn't realize that he keeps dropping the pen, losing the paper.
Hey, Mike. How's it hanging? Hope it's still hanging. Mine may not be for long. You know, I took some personal R&R down to the village. Lots of pretty girls. I think her name was Mai, but my memory's kind of fuzzy because they brew this fine hooch that erases my brain. Anyway, there's one thing I do remember, and I hope it doesn't make my tallywhacker fall off. When you get some leave, come over and meet this wacko I work with. P.S. He copped most of the weed you sent. Refill, please. Face out.
Dusty gives the peace sign to no one in particular and exits into the hut. Lights up. Dusty comes screaming out of the hut. He hurls the dead snake into the bushes.
That's definitely a warning sign. Ooh, that fucker is full on crazy. I gotta get out of here.
Silent Guy enters and walks past Dusty.
Oh, dear me. Did I wake you? You see, I found a reptile in bed with me. Don't worry. I didn't get bit because you won't believe this. It was already dead. You might check your bed tonight because you heard the man on the radio. Keep an eye out. You never know.
Silent Guy turns on the radio, loud to drown out Dusty, and exits. Dusty turns the volume down, uses a flimsy pocket knife to whittle on a coconut.
I can't believe my daddy won't let go of his gun. I must be the only unarmed white guy in Vietnam. Where is this black market I heard so much about? Mike will know where to get a gun.
Dusty turns the radio up. He makes a tentative cut on his arm.
Buffalo Bob here. That was Are You Experienced by the very experienced Jimi Hendrix, because, as you know, he served in the 101st Airborne. Bow your head for a moment, baby, and think on that. In other news, representatives from the U.S. and Vietnam have agreed to meet for peace talks. Don't pack your bags for home yet, because they can't even agree on the shape of the table. let alone who gets what territory. You'll be glad to know that 5 months after we got our butts kicked during the Tet, 65% of our Hueys are back in service. Let's hear it for those crazy civilians, busily patching them back together so you can fly into life-threatening combat. Next month, we've got a treat coming. We're going to show you one of the top movies in the States, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, baby, I'm going to play you something from the fifth dimension. Woo-hoo-woo!
Dusty turns the radio off, takes the batteries out, and throws them as far as he can. Then he sits to write a letter.
Dear Janice, I'm not real sure how long I'll be here. I may need emergency leave, if that is a real thing. My life may be in danger because this guy is certified crazy. What I'm saying is that I might be coming home early and I need to know what I'm coming home to. Is it mine? You know, you shouldn't have a bastard baby in Crosbyton. What I'm saying is that even if the baby isn't mine, I will make an honest woman out of you. Did you name it? If I don't get home alive, please name it after me. That would be nice because I haven't made much of a name for myself so far. Love, Dusty.
Silent Guy enters, gives Dusty a frowning look, as in, "Why aren't you working?" and pitches a few parts toward him.
What? You gonna get me sent home because I'm not working fast enough? Not putting enough Hueys in the air? You know, those are death cabs. They ferry corpses in body bags. Mike says the copter's got no armor on the bottom, so the bodies are lined up on the floor to trap the artillery shot by gooks on the ground. You and me, we are reassembling hearses to carry the dead. That's our mission here in country. So fuck you and that fucking guy on the radio and your poor, nearly dead Freddy.
Silent Guy glares at him.
Nearly dead Fred. You want to talk about it, huh? You finally got something to say to me?
Silent Guy takes a swing at Dusty. They grapple, roll around on the ground.
Oh, you're crazy because of your friend Freddy, right? Who's got it worse, huh? You losing all your marbles or Freddy losing all his body except his marbles, huh?
Silent Guy rises up, enraged, gets on top of Dusty, slamming his shoulders and head into the ground.
Oh, you caused it, right? That's why you pay the bill, so he can line that home, right?
Silent Guy pounds on Dusty. He might kill him.
I read all about it. It wasn't your fault.
Silent Guy stops struggling. He sits up, looking as if he might cry or speak. But the moment passes. He pauses, stands, and exits.
It was an accident. It wasn't your fault. Nothing is nobody's fault.
Lights down. Scene 9. Lights up. The radio is still in the tree.
Bob here playing Monday, Monday by the Mamas and the Papas. Seems like it's always Monday here in beautiful war-torn Nam. I've got some real bad news for you, baby. There's as many bullets back home as there are here, and one took out Senator Robert Kennedy last night. He was 43 years old, shot while campaigning for president in Los Angeles. His assailant is in custody, but no one knows his story. Let's have a moment of silence out of respect. Thank you for that moment of silence, if you had one, with all the bullets and bombs flying over your head and up your ass. Guess we should have a moment of silence every few hours for our fallen brothers.
Dusty enters. Hears the radio playing again.
What the hell? What's going on?
Although if we had a silent moment for every fallen brother and sister, we could only broadcast about 3 minutes.
Dusty throws the radio in the same direction he threw the batteries.
Something's happening here. Ooh, this jungle's full of voodoo, witchcraft. Nope, nope. It's just him. He wants me to leave, but I'll outlast him. I'll stay another 6, collect my money, and go home to my ready-made family.
He goes to the parts pile and begins work. He slowly loses his mental grip as he picks up a part. He begins using a different voice, as if channeling someone else. He rubs his hand across the part, caressing it, divining it.
Private First Class Marvin O'Connor, severe head wound. Lieutenant Orville P. Johnson, leg wound. Colonel Winslow Carpenter, intestinal damage, guts hanging out, dripping blood on the copter floor. All shot down at Langvay and ferried back to Quezon in the bowels of this particular copter. All DOA. They are here now, inhabiting this orb where they last drew breath. They join me in this jungle, the only real company I have. They speak to me in words louder than any human ever could. They speak of misinformation, miscalculation. They speak of misfeasance. Mired in swamp and rice paddy, they say we will not prevail. Body bags, body count, bodies rising, carried, ferried, brought to ground in these exact machines. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple magic man.
Silent Guy enters, pauses to realize that Dusty is communing with the copter parts. He watches, then exits, passing but not seeing Janice. Janice enters in full hippie regalia, her bare 9-month belly showing between her halter and skirt.
Dear Dusty, why don't you take a deep breath? Inhale, hold it for a count of 5, exhale. Doesn't that feel better? You should do that more often. Calms the nervous system. From your letters, it sounds as if you need calming amidst all that gunfire and havoc. It's riotous out here also, but I just concentrate on bringing this beautiful babe into the world and hope to protect her from all the turbulence and futility of the war. A baby is the epitome of innocence. Passive, sweet innocence. And you, Dusty, don't worry about who the father is, because this child is a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. This child, she shouldn't be exposed to anger and hatred or the negative energy of battle. No, this child is the very dove of peace. In fact, I've named her Irene. Irene is the Greek goddess of peace. Isn't that poetic? We're living in the Northeast by the time you get home. It's a communal farm, a good place to raise a baby. You've got 6 more months in Nam. You'll be fine. That nutty partner of yours is sure to have settled down by now. You always could charm a rattlesnake. Take care, Dusty. Your friend, Janice.
Janice exits. Dusty is still unhinged, but now for a different reason. Silent Guy enters. Dusty grabs Silent Guy.
You won't believe this. She's moving away. I'm never going to see her or the baby. Ever.
Silent Guy shrugs him away and exits.
Soulless bastard. Why would you care? You're leaving. Where are you going to go? You got no home. This is home. You can't leave, Willie. You're not like them anymore. There's no place for you. Or me.
Lights down. Scene 10. Lights up. Dusty is sharpening a piece of bamboo into a spear with his flimsy knife. Silent Guy enters from the hut wearing dress clothes. He drops his duffel on the porch, checks his watch, and looks around. Taking his leave, he exits to the outhouse. Sound of Jeep arriving. The motor idles for a while. Dusty exits following Silent Guy with his spear. Lights down. Sound of engine revving. Sound of a horn honking.
Hey, you coming or not?
Sound of Jeep revving the motor, then driving away. Lights up. The duffel is still on the porch, but it is open, the contents spilling out. Dusty rummages through the duffel and comes up with a joint and the Bic lighter. He lights the joint. The sound of the radio from where the radio used to be.
And the USO is shipping over several thousand copies of a new book by Tom Wolfe called The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. Might be a trip in more ways than one. For those of you going home next week, especially you Chi-Town boys, take note. Chicago is going to seem real familiar because the Democratic Convention opens there and officials are predicting riots in the streets and the possibility of armed conflict. Maybe you should stay an extra week in country where it's safe.
Dusty sits, making cuts in his arm with Silent Guy's Bowie knife. Lights down. Curtain.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for that performance. Everybody, if you would, give them a round of applause here. Woo! That was great. Really enjoyed that, and so nice to see the story come to life after all the time that's been worked on this over the past 9 months. I would like to take a moment, if I could, to introduce everybody to the playwright, if we could, Jeannette Brown. Jeannette, if you would come on and unmute yourself, please. Hello, hello. And so, yes, and so I see Maddie up, and I see some other people turning on their cameras. That, of course, is fine. I want to check in with the playwright for just a moment first before I start opening up audience questions, but I do want to leave a chat question for the audience first here, if I could. How would you describe this show to a friend? So, if you would include your answers in the chat while I start off with a question or two with Jeannette, that way you have time to think of an answer and share that, and then I will be opening up live questions with the audience. So, Jeannette, first of all, how nice is it to finally get to this point after 9 months of working on it?
It's really good. Really good.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I wanted to see if you wanted to share any thoughts just about the experience first before I went into questions about the play and the audience feedback.
Right. I just wanted to suggest that if anybody is interested in writing a play, that they work with Next Rung Productions, because the experience was really helpful. You were a coach, teacher, advisor, handholder. Sometimes you had to say, Jeannette, you have to tell the actor when he exits or when he enters. So you are the most tactful person I've ever worked with. I just want everybody to know that Harrison gave me amazing and unconditional support for months in writing this play. So I'm really appreciative. And he put this night together, chose the actors and directed. So he's been a real good coach.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Please know that. And that's what this program is all about, trying to make sure that a playwright really gets that support from before that first page, whenever we met and got coffee or hot cocoa or whatever it was that cold day, back when I had hair, and all the way until after the script has been completed, and trying to just make sure that for a year you're getting all the resources that you need and all the support that I can give, and just trying to continue building up playwrights like yourself, and also building up Knoxville and the Knoxville area for playwrights. And, each year we'll just keep building towards it at this point. So thank you so much for ever applying in the first place. It's been a real honor with it. Let me ask you one question about this process. What inspired you to write Mutation?
I heard about a situation where two guys were together repairing helicopters for a year, and one of them never spoke. And I just couldn't get that out of my head, and tried to realize what it would be like to be away from your family and your country and have no one to talk to.
It's wild to think about what that could do for somebody.
Especially when you're 18 years old.
I know I couldn't shut up when I was 18, and I thought I was the quiet one. And so, like, it's totally get that. All right, well, let's open it up to some audience feedback, if we could. Everybody, if you haven't already turned on your camera and your mic, you are welcome to. No obligations, of course. But just want to open the floor for audience comments here. I'll just repeat the original question that I had for the audience here. If anybody wants to share the answer, how would you describe this show, Mutation, to a friend? Anybody that would like to speak up is welcome to.
I have a question real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the full list of characters. I want to make sure that the silent guy is a character that actually moves before, or is he someone that just is, we assume is there? That's just my only question.
Jimbo, would you like to take that?
Sure. Unless our illustrious playwright would like to. But yeah, Silent Guy is a character in the show that if this were brought to a full production, there would be an actor there playing that entire role. And so with the when the stage directions say all the things he does, he'd be doing that.
That clears up so much, because I didn't hear that, and I was, the whole time I was like, am I just imagining that there's a person there, or is there someone moving? So that clears up like everything. Thank you so much. So sweet.
It's been interesting trying to figure out the different process of trying to do a show like this, because we're doing a stage reading, table reading, and I wanted to have Jim Earnestly be a part of this to really help focus on the importance of that role, but also to deliver the stage directions, because look, Jim's going to be off book for any role, but you know, he had some time to also read stage directions for this, and trying to figure out how that conveyed to an audience during this time as a director was a unique challenge. And so that I appreciate you sharing that as an audience member. Thank you. So let's go back to that original question. How would you describe Mutation to a friend?
I describe it as a haunting story of Vietnam from an unappreciated perspective. That's certainly the impression I got when I read the play. I happened to be in Jeanette's writing group at the Knoxville Writers Guild, so I was very familiar with this drama. But my question is actually for Jeannette. Jeannette, how do you react when you hear other people that perhaps you've not met before bringing your play to life? How is that? Do the characters sound the same as they did in your head, or did the artist's interpretation change that? And what's your feeling about that?
No, they don't read it like I heard it when I wrote it. But that's okay, because theater is a collaboration, and it takes all kinds of people. We didn't get the set design and the costumes tonight, but it's interpretation. So, you know, put it on, the playwright puts it on paper and lets it go. I was pleased with tonight's reading, of course. I thought they did a great job and got the meaning across very well.
Well, that's actually my perspective on this as well. I've never written a play, nor have I had one produced. I've of course heard writers in Hollywood and elsewhere complain that they are the lowest rung on the ladder, and they get no respect, and it's their child, and other people take it away, they kidnap it, and spirit it away. But I've always thought, as you do, that it's a collaborative process, and precisely you come up with the idea, you set the framework, you create a foundation, but then if you choose your collaborators wisely, they take it in directions of their own that perhaps you didn't anticipate, but which enrich the final product. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you sharing that. That is an important perspective to try to keep in mind about how a play blossoms. So many people just see the live 3-week runs of shows, and I get that. Not everybody's into how the sausage is made, right? But there is often a long process that goes into this. And so the perspective I often try to keep in mind when creating this is that we're creating the bones, and then you have other designers and actors who come in and create the muscles and then the skin for the show. But there has to be a structure there. There has to be something of a solid foundation for the actors and the designers to come around. And that's where we, the playwrights, come in with it. And so we tried to have a private reading earlier this summer. Or I say we did successfully have a private reading earlier this summer. And, so interesting to hear the different voices come about. And so now Jeannette, throughout this process, has had 2 different casts with their voices on this. And this is the first time a cast has been able to present after a period of rehearsals this week, see what that continued focus allows for that script. So very appreciative for our talented cast that came in and helped with this process.
Hey, Harrison. My name's Danny Jackson.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, how you doing? I am a classmate of Jeannette. Jeannette and I went to school back in Texas many years ago, at least 3 or 4 Jeannette. But anyway, I just want to say to Jeannette how proud I am of you. And I tell you, every time I either read your book and now that your play, I'm just honored to know you. I'm a Vietnam vet. And Jeannette and I had other Vietnam vets that went to school with us, and there were other people that while they weren't serving in the military, they were in Vietnam. I had a couple of cousins, and Jeannette and I had a good friend. So she speaks from the heart. She did some research on this. It's obvious. So I just want to say, Jeannette, as a Vietnam vet, I'm most appreciative of the work you put into this. And, I was sitting here, I was in Vietnam 50 years ago this month. So it was like, the scenes that she was going through, the mail call, the opening of packages, how much letters and mail meant to folks in Vietnam was awesome. I certainly had my share of characters that I served with. So I think Jeannette, in her short number of characters, certainly did an awesome job, Jeannette. And I just want to say thank you for doing this. You're awesome, kid.
Thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the helicopter background.
I thought that might add to the moment.
It did. That's crazy.
Thank you so much for adding that to the moment. Likewise, thank you for your service, and also very much appreciate that commentary with it throughout a lot of this experience. On my end of things, while I have family, both my grandfathers and my brother who had served in the military, one, didn't have anybody that was over in Vietnam during that time, and 2, didn't have anybody that, let me rephrase it like this, I didn't serve, right? And so I could try to help join in on some of the research, but Jeannette really has done a lot of research along the way with this, to the point where we had to make some serious changes, such as the title itself, trying to be mindful of, this title doesn't necessarily represent the area that they could have been. We need to change the title now. So whenever I see Megan Clark's comment in the chat about mutation on here being a perfect title, thank you for sharing that, because that has been a point of concern for us sometimes going throughout this. But that's excellent, and thank you again for sharing that. With respect to that, let me ask you, if I may, Danny, with respect to that, were there any concerns in here where you felt like there were moments that did not necessarily reflect what could have been real there that you would have expected to be real? Or did you find that it was all, as far as what the fiction of theater sometimes allows us to go, passable and believable in the moment?
Yeah, no, I think Jeannette, it certainly, her picture or story of the 2 characters there in the story I was in the military, so my situation was different than two people who were contractors or civilians. But certainly some of the things she hit on, it rang a bell with me. The only suggestion I change, Jeanette, is the use of the term "bic." I would change it to Zippo. Everybody in Vietnam had to have a Zippo, lighter, and that was the thing about a Zippo. Everybody brought, they had a Zippo with them, and when they came home, they brought the Zippo with them as a memento. So I don't remember ever seeing a Bic, kid, but there were lots of Zippos.
Okay.
So
I can fix that.
but that one, can I ask you something real quick? When you first started out, I think did someone mention the date March '86? Did that start out?
March through August 1986.
Yeah, well, that's not a good time frame, because I was in Nam in '69 and '70. The troops pulled out of Vietnam in '72. So that '86, I would change that, because if they were there during the Vietnam War, they had to be in the late '60s, early '70s. I would suggest that you change that.
It's 1968.
That's where I wanted to jump in. And
okay. Well, I couldn't. I'm an old guy with bad hearing, so I couldn't remember if it said 68 or 86.
We appreciate you being here all the same. Please know that. And so, I had to go back to the settings on here. I was like, did we get that wrong? I don't know. We just made sure we was watching out for the Mekong Delta, and then all of a sudden we got the years off by 15 years.
Well, no, if you said if it was 68, my apologies. I heard wrong. So
totally fine. Appreciate that, because we never know when a typo comes in. So that's something that'll be important for Jeanette to keep an eye out for as we continue with this process.
Yeah, but like I said, the mail call, the letters from home, certainly. I can't tell you how I'm an old mailman. I retired from the Postal Service as well.
So did my dad.
Mail is very special to me. So when I was in Vietnam, letters from home meant the world to me. And I was with a lot of guys that got Dear John letters. And guys in my unit, we would share stories that came in those letters with each other. When we had the care packages to come, we would open up and share with each other. Some of the villages, going into some of the villages, that was, sometimes we'd kind of sneak off and hit the villages to kind of party a little bit. If the old man didn't know about it, we did that. Smoked a few joints there, and it was like I said, Jeanette did her research. I'll just applaud her for that.
Can we all give Jeanette a hand real quick, by the way, for all the hard work that she's put in?
Yeah.
We so often get to give it for the cast, but Jeanette, you certainly earned it and deserved it throughout this process. And so with this, I want to bounce to a question, if I may. I'm seeing in the chat here some questions about the silent character. I'll just read what Beth had written here. Having a silent character makes such an impact on the current action was pretty amazing. But Dusty was largely responsible for how I saw Silent Guy. So, Dusty, how difficult was it to convey most of the meaning from a character who doesn't speak?
Lucky for me, the script that Jeanette put together made it really easy. And then additionally, having Jimbo be Silent Guy, there were a number of additional nuances and flavors that we were able to construct over this week in order to get that across. And it was really just fantastically laid out through the script and then through the discussions that we had about it all. Thank you for that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
A quick comment to Dusty. As a Texan, you did the accent. You made me proud. In fact, I'm going, man, you made me homesick, brother. You did good.
Oh man, you have no idea how nervous I was about.
Well, you know what? And the interesting thing is a lot of Jeanette's terminology. I was just like, terminology that we spoke as kids and youngsters back in Dickens County, Texas. It came across. You did well. You could always come to Dickens County, and you could fool us, man. You did
Oh,
good.
thank you, Danny. I'm glad to know also that it's we can swap those skeeters.
Good.
I want to second that. I want to say kudos to all the actors. Dusty, of course, carried the lion's share, and that was the nature of the play. Whoever plays that part is going to have 90% of the, sorry for the train whistle in the background. I live in the old city. That is that's well done. And also I want to ask Danny, is it actually true that you could put gasoline in a Zippo lighter and it would still work?
Hey, you can put just about anything in a Zippo light. Zippo light. I swear, you know, I'm ashamed to say, I don't have my Zippo anymore. Somewhere along the line, I had a couple of things. I had my dog tags. I had my Zippo that I came home with, and I'm sorry to say that I don't have any of them. Although I did find they had the other day I was going through some old Army stuff, and I found they would give you military currency, MPC, and I found 3 pieces of that, and I was, wow, you know, I came home with 47 cents worth of MPC. I don't know what that's worth these days in real money, but that Zippo. In fact, some stories about Zippos saved some guys' lives. They would have it in their fatigue jacket, and actually took a bullet into a Zippo and actually stopped a bullet. And so there's stories like that out there. But I'm sure if you talk to a Vietnam vet, all of them will give you a Zippo story.
Well, again, I'm going to echo what others said, and I thank you for your service. I was in the Army during peacetime in the late 80s, and never, ever regretted that I missed Vietnam. I think that was an extraordinary challenge for all of you. So congratulations for making it through in one piece.
Thank you. That happened to remind me there, one other just bit of information. I was drafted. I was also served in the Army, 101st Airborne, but I was also drafted. I went in May of '69. The lottery came on in December of '69. So at that time when I was, people hit Trump up these days about all the deferments. I was going to school, so I got, a 2S deferment for a couple of years, and then got tired and dropped out of school. And, a month later, the draft board found me. But, that whole issue of, the lottery, my birthday, had I been a subject to the lottery, I would have been drafted anyway. So, just the fate of the fate, I got there anyway. But
Understood.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, my service was behind a desk in Washington, D.C. So no hero here.
All the same.
So I respect people who actually were in the shit, as they say.
Yeah.
If I may shift the focus slightly and to the actors, and again, great job everybody, and the director and everybody who was actually involved in the play. To what extent do you value or not the input of the writer once she has handed you the script?
I would like the actors to answer that first.
So personally, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been a playwright in high school where I wrote small plays for my theater class, and I've been an actor as well. I value the input of the writer because it is ultimately, it's their creation. They put so much time and effort into this. So I do value, if they say, hey, this isn't quite how I envisioned this going. But at the same time, I don't think it's right to restrict actors creatively, because, you do put that in their hands to present it how they see it. So I think it's like a healthy mix of the two. You need to give the actors a creative freedom, but respect the writer's vision, in my opinion.
Just to add on to that any process, whether it's an existing play, you're doing a revival of something, but especially if it's a new work, and any chance I can get to do new works is always great for me. But it's always a conversation during the rehearsal process that the actor has ultimately to execute the vision of the playwright as best as their ability to bring what they have to the role to make it come alive. And Yeah, it's just like I said, a conversation of back and forth. If there's a real sticking point that the playwright wants to hit, that that the actor's duty to refer to the playwright there, and director kind of can act as a mediary in between those two entities there, and so yeah, it's just all part of the process that and goes so much easier when everyone has a level of respect for each other.
I think there's parts of what you just said that I kind of agree with, but I see the whole script. The words are important. The story is important. There's flow, and dialogue creates the flow. The writer works very hard to make the dialogue sound natural and to go from subject to subject. And that is extremely important for the director to be responsible for and for the actor to respect. And I've always seen it, though, as a three-phase process where it's kind of like when you put several people in a row and one person says one thing and the next person says what they heard, and it might be different and keep going. It's not quite that severe, but the writer is the first voice of the play. The director is the second voice, and the actor is the last voice, the third voice, the one that is presented to the audience. And of course, there's got to be, just like in any conversation that you have with somebody in real life, there's got to be a core understanding of what the story is and what it is you're talking about. And I think Jeannette did a really good job of giving the actors something that they could really work with to create their characters. There's plenty of information in the play about who the character is, and then to be able to give us the words that would make the flow work as well.
I would like to jump in at this point just to share that everybody who's an actor in this show has also, in some capacity, worked with one of my personal plays on this. And so with this process, I've brought a cast of people who I've trusted to work on new plays up to this point. And I've seen how they have continued to develop it and what all they can bring to it and what all they discover along the way with that. And so thank you so much for being trustworthy for me in that sense before we even got to this process of working with Next Rung Productions. Different philosophies will come up along the way, of course, but yeah, so much of it is what it is. Also, this program does bring a bit of a unique perspective with it in that not every play gets to have the playwright there for it. And so not only did we have Jeannette for each of the rehearsals, which sometimes happens, but really not that often in many of these situations, but along the way, also one of my intentions with the program was trying to make sure we put a particular emphasis on the playwright's attention to this so we could best try with that. And I would, of course, bring in my own thoughts. And for the most part, we agreed, and that's okay when we didn't, but such is life, right? And so the point is we were all trying to figure out what we intended and to see what did and didn't work and to have an opportunity to share it with an audience here. And I think we all found a way to manage that. So really proud of us to get to that point, and appreciate you being here to see that. I'd like to take a moment real quick if I could. I'm seeing the occasional person drop out, and I just want to let everybody know if you're needing to leave before the end of this, we are very grateful for you being here. Thank you so much, and you're welcome to leave at any time. The discussion will continue for a while longer, but I just want to make sure you know that you have our gratitude that you came out and supported new works during this time and came out for the very first event for Next Rung Productions. I assure you, I will be doing everything I can to have a second year of this next year with another playwright with this. So very much appreciate that. And if you ever have any questions, you can contact me on Facebook. I also have an email address, nextrungproductions@gmail.com, that you can reach out to about following up for applications in the future. With respect to that, and anybody that needs to leave can, I want to bounce back to a comment that we had earlier in the chat. We had Linda Parsons who shared an interesting moment here about Jeannette. I love the parallel descent of what's happening in Vietnam and in Buffalo Bob's commentary of the outside world. especially the 2 assassinations and the upcoming violent Democratic event in Chicago. Nicely done. And I agree that that was nicely done. I wanted to check in with the audience to see if they found that to be impactful for more people than just Linda, or if that was sometimes distracting, or if you had questions about what those roles were serving for the story.
Very good impact.
Good.
I was going to say, I really like them. I actually would have liked Denise to have more of a hippie impact, if that makes sense. I would like to see that progression a little more, and also give Dusty and Silent Guy a chance to go get water and stuff as well, because they have 10 scenes where they're on stage consistently, and on stage it's going to be really hard to do. But just to have Denise come on and maybe have a sign just walking across the stage with her big pregnant belly, you know, protest the Vietnam War, because that was a thing that happened, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, I wasn't there. But I would have liked to see that juxtaposition too. And that was another conflict that was also going on, which adds to that whole other layer of stuff. So that would have been really interesting to see as well. I loved it. I loved hearing about the conflict going on in the States and then seeing it through Dusty's eyes. The Vietnam conflict through Dusty's eyes.
Well, let me riff with that for a second here, because you were talking about maybe seeing a little bit more Janice, a little bit more of the hippie stage in particular. Was there any information that you're needing about her arc that you felt like you weren't getting?
Just the progression of hippieism. It was stated that it was just shown through clothing, but it could have been like really cool to see that go through as Dusty is also going through his progression, and see that almost opposite reaction of him going towards the gun and her going towards the universe is great and this is the baby's world and we're going to a communal farm and he's ready to go kill some guy. And just see that kind of conflict, and they're so far away so they can't even have a conversation about it. Like that would have been just another interesting thing to see, I guess. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yes, and
Okay.
I do appreciate that. I was trying to figure out if you're meaning as far as more extremes of where their current timeline had, or if you're meaning like the next scene, like where she's skinny again and has a baby in her arms. I was trying to figure out where you're going with
that. Just that, like, just seeing a little more of her progression, just to kind of juxtapose Dusty's progression. Like, you know, like, does that make sense?
I think it makes an enormous amount of sense, Madison. Certainly the pregnancy and the personal aspect of this is key. However, the broader picture is that the two of them are looking at the war in very different ways. And that may be the ultimate conflict between the two of them, and maybe what ultimately leads them to go their separate ways. So I think that's quite valid.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's been so interesting to see the balance of how this show is structured, because as Stuart was mentioning earlier, Dusty does have the lion's share of the lines here, but also we do have other characters, and each time we have another character who speaks, they're so isolated. You have the DJ who's kind of there by himself with just the news feed, and you have Janice who's writing the letters back with the baby who, you know, isn't born yet. And so with that, it's such an interesting level of how isolated people are, even for Dusty, who is, you know, not by himself in a physical sense, but very like, you know, alone in the sense of communication. And we see that, you know, especially early on, how badly he wants to talk and is unable to. That structure wise is really interesting for me. Let me ask you guys about the structure with it. Was it hard or easy, or do you have thoughts about having somebody who spoke so much throughout the show? It wasn't necessarily a one-man show, even when it was him speaking much of the time, but did that provide any noteworthy feedback you'd like to share, structure-wise?
Now that I know that there's someone else on stage, it was like fine. I was seriously worried that there wasn't going to be anyone on stage. I didn't realize that there was. So yeah, I think with another person, you have someone to act against, and that is going to do a lot of the work too. Like there's so much work in nonverbal cues that the audience is going to see, and verbal cues and all that. So that I think is fine. I actually really like the structure of it with Dusty and Silent Guy.
No, I agree.
Was,
I think
yeah.
Clearly Dusty has the lion's share of the lines, but I suspect that Silent Guy in an actual stage production could steal the show.
Oh yeah, he's gonna steal the show for exactly the motion. He's gonna be, and it's gonna be like I think whoever plays Dusty's gonna have an easier role because he's gonna be talking the entire time. It's gonna be being silent and that dead glare stare is so hard to do consistently. You have to dead face the entire show, looking at Dusty, who's just chaotically moving. It's going to be such a great this whole show just has so much juxtaposition and compare and contrast. And I think that the Vietnam, from what I've learned about it and my understanding of it, is just that it's a lot of contrast. There's a lot of contrast in that time, good, bad, in between. Very polarizing.
I'll agree with Madison once again and further comment that Lady and the Tramp was a great movie.
We needed to get that feedback in here about Lady and the Tramp based feedback for Jeannette. So that's awesome though. And I'll add this too. One of the reasons I wanted to cast Jimbo for the stage directions and Silent Guy is I lived with him for a year. I know he's got that glare. And so anytime I need that, I know he's going to provide that. And so, whoa, what did I do this time? I don't know. See, he's going to do this and I can't crack him.
Harrison,
yes.
I'd like to thank Stuart. He's he's a good participant, but he's also he was my first helicopter expert. He knows a lot about helicopters. So he helped me out on that one in the critique group.
And she bragged on you throughout the year, Stuart, on this. I don't know how much I'm supposed to say that, but no, she was very appreciative in the early months going on about making sure that things were appropriate for the story on that. So,
well, Jeannette and I have secret crushes on one another, so that's okay. Now we've brought it out into the open.
See, this is what this whole program's about. You thought this was a playwriting program. No, we're on MTV right now. Cameras, so it's a
The Love Boat.
Love Boat. Here we go.
No, the Love
Welcome
Boat.
to Fantasy Island.
Oh my goodness, it's a good time. Let me bounce to a question that Terry Shaw shared on here. Jeannette, how big an impact did Vietnam have on your own life?
It was a big impact because I was right there in the middle of it. My friends were getting drafted or having to decide whether to go as contractors to Vietnam. And I mean, there's still bullets and stuff going around. People I knew were making life affecting decisions. I don't know anybody that went to Canada, but just short of that, which arm of the services would keep you in the States longer. And, the draft was just, immediately you were going, but we were so young. I didn't have to go, of course, but we were so young to be making decisions like that, life or death decisions at 18, 19. So yeah, it really affected me.
My dad talks about it every now and then. He didn't have to go, but he was afraid of being drafted and always felt like he was very close to being drafted. I don't want to try to retell his story. I'll mess it up on it, but he always retold it in a way where he was afraid that he was about to be drafted with it. And, that can, it's an amazing thing about how much that would have totally changed this world. I probably wouldn't have been born. I would have been 50% different if I was, right? And then, everything else that could change in somebody's whole world, and then therefore the world around them when enough of that sort of change happens. It's wild to think about with it. I'm just looking over some of the comments here. There's a good point here. I'd like to point out what Linda was sharing here at the end about it was also great as Dusty realizes his part in the war when he began thinking he was apart from it and realizing the copters are death machines, part of his descent on this. So that's a fascinating angle to take with that. I guess I want to check in on the angle of descent here. Did people find Dusty's descent believable and easy to follow throughout this, or were there concerns along the way?
I got confused when he started talking about the people who died because it had never been mentioned before what was going on. And that could be cleared up with movement on stage. I'm not saying that it can or can't. It could be cleared more. But just hearing random people's names and then it never being talked about again, I was like, what just happened? Just a quick little thing. And this is coming from someone who has very little experience with Army, military, any knowledge. So you're talking someone who knows like this much. So that was the only thing that really got me confused, was I heard names and then they were gone. And I was like, what just happened? And it was never talked about again.
Thank you for that. Anybody else want to comment on the descent aspect of it? Cool. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark. I want to try to wrap this up fairly soon for everybody. Really appreciate you who are able to stick around. Totally understand if you need to leave at any point. Let me just kind of get to general thoughts on what your favorite part of the script was, or if there was a part of the script that you thought perhaps moved a little slow or didn't make sense, anything along those lines. We all understand that we're here to be constructively building up this play. If you want to share a favorite part or a part that didn't wholly connect with you, I just want to open the space to have that discussion.
I thought the parts where Janice was to come on stage and do her thing with her advancing pregnancy, showing the counterpoint, that to me was essential. Also enjoyed the moment where Dusty threw the radio into the jungle. So lots of things. I think that counterpoint, however, between the girl left back home with the child of indeterminate provenance is makes it very human. I mean, this is his life back home, and this is what he's going to go back to if he goes back to anything. That to me was very much the heart of the story.
Fascinating with it. And as we've gone through this rehearsal process, I had forgotten how much Dusty paints the world back home with the way he's responding about Janice's decisions or lack of information, in that whenever he has that line, you know, it's not good to not have a baby in Crosbyton, or whatever that specific line is, really told me a whole lot about Crosbyton right there. And that era as well. And that painted a strong picture for me. And, you know, in some ways helped tie it to some of the things that, you know, can continue to linger today in that regard. So it was fascinating.
Well, I've often heard it said that motherhood is a matter of fact, fatherhood is a matter of opinion. And despite advances in DNA technology, to a certain extent, that's always going to be the case. I mean, they're just differences, and men often do not know whether a child is theirs or not. And that is a haunting thing. It's something that you have to think deeply about and how you're going to react to it. I think Dusty comes up with the right solution here, but that's quite a task, isn't it, to simply say, I'm going to make an honest woman of you, a somewhat dated concept, but nonetheless, what he's saying is, I'm going to treat this child as my own. And that's quite a leap for any man to make.
Certainly. Especially with everything else in the world that you're having to deal with. Like, as soon as I finish this side business I have beside the war, I'm going to come back and then make, like, that's a lot of weight on somebody, but that's what it is. Who else would like to chime in about a favorite part, or maybe a part that you'd like to speak to about potential for constructive feedback?
My favorite line is when Dusty goes, "Better give me your gun." Essentially, the snakes here are pretty bad, because I love that double meaning that not only are the snakes bad, but Silent Guy is a snake and I'm going to shoot him. So I love that. That was a great little nod to love that wordplay. I think that was probably one of my absolute favorite lines in the entire show. And I love Dusty's opening. It comes out strong. You hit it hard and it hits right on the nail. So you know exactly who he is from the get-go. And I think that it's great. You know, the dialogue in the show is 100% believable, and it's just Dusty talking to himself 90% of the time. And I love it. So it's really good dialogue.
Thank you. Cool.
That's great. Anybody else? Anybody else? And all right, Jeannette, I'm going to open it back to you. If you have any questions, this is a great time to chime in with them.
No, I just appreciate everybody participating and supporting my play and supporting Harrison's project.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm happy to chime in and adjourn on that note. Basically, just can't say it enough here. Thank you so much for your attendance. It is nerve-wracking over the first year to see what sort of support may or may not come out. I'm so happy to see my friends who have come out for this. I'm so happy to see new people come out to be a part of this. And it's easy to be happy for me, but I'm especially happy for Jeannette, because that's what this whole program is about, trying to support a playwright very thoroughly and truly throughout a year and help get to that point. So it's amazing to see this. So thank you so much for this. Just keep in mind, if anybody is interested in this program or knows somebody that would be interested, we will be releasing the information and form to apply for the next year, probably in about a month. We'll also be releasing a new logo here soon. And so we have full intentions of going forward with this and helping somebody else the next year. So just I can't stress enough. Thank you, everybody, so much. This meeting's officially over. So anybody that has been here as an audience member, I do encourage you, for any conversations you'd like to have with Jeannette, to message her a little bit here shortly. I would like to speak with the cast and the playwright for just a little bit here. And then I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for this. Everybody have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.